Well, it's a good Thursday morning when I get to talk to my good buddy Alexa Ross. Temple made back. This is the Alexa Ross Bowl. I'm telling you right now. It's Eagles. It's Colts. Alexa, how you feeling?
I just hope both teams have fun. No, I'm so excited for this game. I've had this game circled. Like when I first saw that they were coming here after having played in 2018, I was like, sweet, perfect. Like this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. Seeing that it was at Lucas Oil, I was like, oh, this is so great. I get to get my family in a new stadium. And, I knew that this game would be interesting because obviously expectations were really high for the Colts this season that and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff has gone down in the last, from preseason through camp, all of it. And so today we sit here and we're like, okay, well, what are we going to do? I don't know. I think that we're just going to I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be even more fun in the context of the game, with Jeff Saturday's coaching debut in Lucas Oil, as well as the Eagles coming in angry. You don't want to be the undefeated teams, formerly undefeated, then lose, then play a team. You don't want to be that next team. And the Colts are that next team. And so I'm very interested. I don't know how this could go. I think that this could be the Colts could win by 7 or the Eagles are going to win by 40. That's what I keep saying. I think that's just kind of like how I feel about this game. But I am super excited. There's a lot of familiarity here with this offensive staff specifically. Parks Frazier worked under Nick Sirianni when Nick Sirianni was the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis. So there is a lot of stuff that he knows and can kind of work with because he knows what this offense is going to look like. And he's learned so much from Sirianni, and Sirianni, he's called a mentor and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm super interested to how this is going to go. I've been really excited.
So this is interesting for me with the Indianapolis Colts. It feels like they haven't been the same offense, the same franchise since Nick Sirianni left to go to Philadelphia. Marcus Brady, they thought. I remember people telling me Marcus Brady's going to be a future head coach, and he was fired. What 6-7 games in the season?
Yeah, the Marcus Brady firing to me feels as though it was to take the onus off of Frank. It was to make sure that they could get Frank through a season, because I really think that Jim Irsay didn't want to be his dad. He didn't want to be the guy firing a coach midseason. Especially a guy who is as good as Frank. Like there is no guy, this. There's no guy better than Frank Reich. Like he is the best dude. And so, to kind of see how this all shook out from like the benching of Matt Ryan, take it all the way through to now the reinstatement of Matt Ryan, the hiring of Jeff Saturday, all of those things are very, it's been as interesting for you guys watching externally as it has for us internally covering it and just kind of watching everything go down, because it has been a complete whirlwind. I've never seen things change so quickly. And football's a week by week league. We know this. But
yeah.
But this was like a 3 weeks of just, we got back from Nashville, and that's just when everything started to, everything just went aside, and it was crazy. And it was just, so I think this team finally has some sense of structure and some sense of feeling like, okay, we are here and we're in it and we're where we have to be. But I don't think that, I think that a lot of the win that the Colts are coming off of, I think a lot of that was fueled by the adrenaline of having a new coach and like wanting to get it for that guy, especially a guy who's never had a head coaching win before in the NFL. So, no, I don't know. I think that this team, Nick Sirianni obviously really did a lot, but we can't forget that there have now been as many starting quarterbacks as any team has had from the beginning, and just move on with. And it's been, my boss says it all the time, and he's right to an extent. And the more that I'm here and the more that I'm around it, the more I understand it. The retirement of Andrew Luck set the franchise back 10 years. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, Reich was never going to be in a good position because he constantly kept getting, the quarterback carousel spins for the Colts, basically. And that's kind of just how it's been. And they can't do anything about that. And then when we were like, oh, they're going to trial Sam Ehlinger and maybe they finally have their guy. Nope, Matt Ryan's back in. So like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And I don't think that I don't have any definite idea about this team's identity in this new second half of the season era. So I don't know. I think that obviously we've seen Frank call great plays. We've seen Frank, be great. And Jeff Saturday is obviously not calling those plays. Parks Frazier is. So they played a great game on Sunday, and I'm interested to see if that'll carry over against a much, much, much tougher opponent than the Raiders.
So this is funny to me, right? Because last year, just covering the entire league, it just seemed like the whole thing was blamed on Carson Wentz, which is funny from the outside, but I'm thinking, man, Frank Reich, he's got to be the fall guy for this, right? This is the guy he brought in. This offseason, you were there for all this drama in Indianapolis. Did it seem like Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay basically said, you know what, Frank, this is on you. This is the guy you wanted.
Kind of. Very vocal. I mean, they were both super vocal about the Matt Ryan, the acquisition of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has, and I think Matt Ryan, not for nothing. I mean, he's a 15-year veteran now. He's been playing in this league a very long time. He's a great track record. Like, he's a great quarterback, and I think everybody was expecting a lot from him. I don't think anyone was expecting his offensive line to be as bad as it was. I really don't. That being said, you have the most expensive offensive line in football. It's not Frank's fault that they're the most expensive offensive line in football, but it is, it is under his realm of responsibility that they're not performing the way that they should. But he didn't sign those contracts. So I think there's a lot of blame to go around. I think that we could see the end of the Chris Ballard era by the end of this season. I mean, it depends. I don't even know if I don't know if he makes it through the draft. I don't know. I really don't know what happens. Jim Irsay, in his hiring of Jeff Saturday press conference, said Ballard's future was secure. But this is 2 weeks after he said Frank's future was secure. So I don't really know I don't know what to believe or who to believe. And I don't think anybody really does. I think we're all just here along for the ride at this point, because I don't know where the season is going to take this team. I have no idea.
I'm just going to call it like it is. How does it feel covering a shit show?
Unreal. Unreal. Like last season, it was the Pacers who were just like not able to finish games, but had like good pieces, and they got Tyrese Halliburton, and then everything kind of changed. Now they look great with their 3 rookies that they added. And they might not even trade Miles Turner. So, that's cool. It's cool to have like one team that, and I thought that was the Colts. I was like, yeah, the Colts are solid. Like, we're chilling. We're good. People were crying Super Bowl, or like being able to contend in the AFC, which is obviously not what we thought it was going to be. Today, it is not what we thought it was going to be during the offseason. Like, this AFC is not the AFC that I covered when I was in Buffalo. Like, this is not the same thing. But yeah, it's weird having gone from covering the Bills, who are, I got to watch their massive like rise with the greatness of Josh Allen and his, near perfect, season where everybody was like, whoa, where'd that come from? To then now watch a 15-year veteran get benched, a head coach get fired, an offensive coordinator get fired, and a coach with no experience get hired as the head coach. So I'm just along for the ride, and I'm having a good time. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about.
I feel like that's why we do this, though. We do this for the craziness, not when like your team you're covering wins or loses.
Oh yeah, no, nothing's ever been more dramatic than like the last 3 weeks that I've had. Like, this has just been a whirlwind. Everyone has described it as a whirlwind. Everyone's described it as a roller coaster. Like, whatever you want to say, it's exactly what it was. Whatever you think it was, whatever you just said it was, which I will not repeat on this show because I cannot say that contractually. That's not true. But, whatever it is. Like, this is very much one of those things. Yeah, no, it's been insane. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely been a whirlwind for sure. And the one thing I always, over the last couple of weeks, so when I heard Jeff Saturday was the head coach, I'm like, wait a minute. He was just on Get Up this morning. Like, yeah. What happened here? Like, how do you go from, like, I actually thought he was going to go outside the box, but I thought it was going to be like Peyton Manning outside the box. I didn't think it was going to be Jeff Saturday.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if he fired Chris Ballard tomorrow and made Peyton Manning the general manager. Like, that's where I'm at this point. Like, because anything can happen. Like, I have just completely thrown out any and all, or like bring in Peyton to be your actual offensive coordinator. Like, I don't know. Like, at this point, I think it could be fun. You now have all your friends there. You have Cato June coaching. You have Reggie Wayne coaching. You have Jeff Saturday coaching. Just bring in all the Ring of Honor guys and get them out there and coach a team, because you know what? It could be fun. At this point, if that's what we're doing, let's have some fun. Let's get weird. Like, I'm ready for that.
How did you feel, though, when Jeff Saturday got hired, knowing that they had coaches with NFL experience on that roster?
So I have a lot of feelings about this. And I think that a lot of the feelings, a lot of the criticism about the hiring, especially regarding, black head coach, like acquiring an interim who's a man of color, I completely understand. And I also understand that the Rooney Rule doesn't apply to interim head coaches. So like, but also, had there been some, like, if Leslie Frazier's on staff and gets passed over, I'm a lot more upset and angry than like Gus Bradley getting passed over. Yeah. But like, you have Gus Bradley, you have John Fox, like you have these guys who have had this experience. So why not just elevate them? I understand Gus is new and like, it's his first season with the team and whatever, but like, still, he's been a head coach before. Like, just elevate him. It's not that hard. And I think that this I will never understand what's going on in Jim Irsay's brain. So I don't know why the external hire happened. But I know that he is somebody who has been looked at he's been utilized as a consultant. He's been around the franchise for, well beyond his getting out of the franchise. Like, he's still around. He's still active. He's still obviously someone that Irsay trusts. So, I think he wanted a culture guy. I think he just wanted somebody that the guys could rally behind and, win for. And I mean, that's what they did on Sunday. So I guess it worked. I guess his plan worked, but I mean, I see this as just like a nice little 8-game tryout and just move on.
What is Peyton Manning's ties to the franchise now?
Peyton lives in Denver, so it's not as he comes back for Ring of Honor inductions and stuff. And I know he's still close with like guys on staff, and he and Reggie still talk all the time. So I know, and he still talks to Jeff. So I'm not 100% sure of the connection there. He still loves this franchise. He still talks about loving this franchise. So, and I feel like it's probably how Matt Ryan feels about the Falcons, honestly, like, but years removed. Like, I think in like 6 years when we talk to Matt Ryan and we're like, how do you look at your time in Atlanta? Like, he'll look back fondly. Right now, he might still be a little salty about it, but let him win, let him have a couple seasons of like enjoying himself. And then, because he was supposed to be the guy when he, that 2-year contract was like ready to be extended. And Irsay was like, he could be our guy for 3 to 4 years, which makes me think, oh, you're waiting for Arch to get out of Texas.
Could be.
Which I've been making tank for Arch jokes like it's nobody's business. And like, I'm still making tank for Arch jokes. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be the longest tank for the nephew of your former quarterback ever. But this is like, we're tanking with our friends. We have friends involved. We have Jeff Saturday coaching. I don't think they're tanking. I mean, they would have lost if they were tanking, or they would have not have tried as hard as they were. But I'm just so fascinated by everything that's been going on. And just from like the energy that I've gotten and like my understanding of the situation is just like, it wouldn't surprise me if Peyton were brought in at some point, maybe not this season, but eventually to do something at that capacity. I mean, Reggie Wayne's is a wide receiver coach, man. Like, I don't know, you could bring in Peyton Manning to do something. You definitely
exactly. So this is what was funny to me, right? I didn't get to watch the game live because there were other games on at the time. I have Sunday tickets, so they were one of the 405 games. But I'm thinking to myself, I really should watch this game because I can't stand Josh McDaniels. He is the one coach in this league I cannot tolerate. I can't believe he has a job again. He spurned the Colts. I'm like, man, I don't care about the Jeff Saturday thing anymore. I just hope he finds a way to lose to Jeff Saturday. And he did. And like, what's the vibe in Indianapolis knowing what he did to the Colts?
Everybody was like, what? What did just happen? I was like, Jeff Saturday's really going to win. Like, he's really going to win this game in Las Vegas. And he did. And it was just, people are like, yeah, Jeff Saturday, let's go. I think people are rallying for the short term. I don't know if people want to see him be the coach long term. I think it's a little too soon to make that decision. But we are having a lot of fun with it. And we're, we've all made our jokes and we've all, said our piece and all that. But I think right now it's just kind of like they're just figuring things out all over again. I am happy though to see a former offensive lineman coaching this team, which you were like, the offensive line looks great. And I was like, this is the worst season they've had in years. Like this was the first game where they actually looked like they could block for anybody. I mean, I keep making jokes like they couldn't block for me and I'm 5'5". Like they really couldn't. Like I would get destroyed. And that's what I mean. And Matt Ryan is like, he's older. The benching of him was because he's not as mobile as Sam Ehlinger. And then Sam Ehlinger was not, it was good for Sam Ehlinger, but he was still losing. But is that his fault entirely? I don't know. There's just so many different things are happening that like I can't place blame for losses on one certain thing. And now it's like, okay, well, we're just gonna have to ride this out.
This is what's interesting to me about this team. So you and I both know the Eagles can't stop anybody against the run right now without Jordan Davis. Now they just signed Linval Joseph. I'm looking at it as, okay, the Colts are just going to ground and pound the day with Jonathan Taylor. But like you said, on Sunday was the rare day where this actually works. They came into that game like, I think it was like 31st in the league in rushing.
Yes, which is insane when you have the reigning rushing leader. And I understand that a lot of that was to kind of get, some of the heat off of Carson last season. But like you could do that. You could do the same thing with Matt, like, which is why nobody has really understood why they weren't calling rushing plays like at all. Like they were just and like, I get it. Matt Ryan can throw the football and that's great. But also when you have a weapon like Jonathan that guys would kill to have, that quarterbacks would love to have as an option to play with, hand it off and run. And like, the thing about this too, is that like the Colts have big pass catchers who can gain yards after contact, like in a major, major way. Michael Pittman is huge. They have tight ends. They have the biggest tight end room in the league. Like you have guys who can, and now because the tight ends can block, that's going to be really helpful as well. And I think that we are going to see a lot more of the Deion Jackson minutes because obviously the Nyheim Hines trade to Buffalo, which makes me so upset because Nyheim is like a pro's pro and he was a great guy to cover and I wish him all the best. But, utilize Jonathan with checkdowns like in his first season. It really worked. Like I'm interested to see how they kind of revitalize it because he made his season-long run on Sunday. And that was only 66 yards. I mean, we've seen him break free for much longer than that and much faster than what he did. So they're definitely getting more aggressive with their play calling in regards to the run game. And I think they will absolutely try to utilize that to mess around with what the Eagles have been lacking, because it is the thing that the Eagles have been lacking. And this is the first time in like my entire life that they haven't had a good run defense. So I'm definitely interested to see how they utilize Jonathan Taylor, Deion, those kinds of guys, because obviously we know what their big pass catchers can do, but I think we're going to see a lot of those guys blocking.
And obviously the Colts have top 10 defense. Yeah. They play well all year, but now Shaquille Leonard, he's gone. He's pretty much done for the season. So what did you notice from Sunday's game where the Eagles can exploit?
So I think the thing about Shaquille hasn't been playing most of the season anyway. He played like minutes. So this defense has just been this defense without him. Grover Stewart is a guy that like you have two gigantic tackles in Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. They're both gigantic. Grover is probably going to make the Pro Bowl this year or be an All-Pro. Like he's
been good.
He's going to be great. But this linebacking core with a guy like Zaire Franklin, Philly guy who went to Syracuse, we talk about the Sixers all the time. He's great. But like between Bobby Okereke, EJ Speed, and Zaire, the linebackers are a little smaller. So I think they can really, play with them there. I think there's a lot that can be done right there. Obviously, Jalen is going to have to just move and be as mobile as he can be because Kwity Paye has been hurt as well. So, you don't have your starting, one of them, but then you have Yannick Ngakoue on the other side. So I'm interested to see how they allow if they're going to blitz Jalen, if they're going, what exactly they're going to do to try and like get in his head. Because I think this is going to be a mind game for the defense. And it's a new defensive scheme too, not for nothing. The Gus Bradley defense is not what these guys have, it's not what I covered last year. It's not what these guys are used to. So I'm used to seeing takeaways, punch outs, the whole thing. I'm used to seeing forced turnovers. I'm not used to them kind of playing the long game and kind of the press. So I am interested to see what they're able to do. Safety wise, Stephon Gilmore is definitely playing at like 2019 levels. He's had like 2 game ending and game saving plays, one last week and then against the Broncos in prime time, which was the worst football game of all time. We don't have to sugarcoat it. But there were no touchdowns scored. And a huge part of that reason is because of Stephon Gilmore. I mean, he has been, and there were a lot of questions about that, about is he still going to be capable in doing that? Having Rodney McLeod out there is going to be huge because, he knows what this Eagles offense looks like. So, he's seen a lot of these guys. He played with a lot of these guys who won a Super Bowl there. So I'm definitely, I think that all the pieces are there for them to give the Eagles a challenge, but the Eagles are the best team in football. So them losing Dallas Goedert though is really going to hurt them. It's really going to hurt them. I saw that. And as an Eagles fan, I was like, oh no, like that's like, not worst case scenario, but like it's like a top 3 bad thing that could happen.
Do you get to enjoy like kind of being an Eagles fan that you're in a different market? Like it doesn't feel like you gotta have any ties to it.
Yeah, it's nice. It was the same way in Buffalo too, because like being in the AFC, nobody cares. Nobody's like, how dare you? Nobody gets upset that I'm an Eagles fan. Everybody's this week I will be as objective, as I possibly can be. I'm very excited for it, but and I'm excited to see, this team play live because this is going to be the only time I get to see them live this season because Thursday Night Football was played away. So I didn't get to come home for it, but it's been a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. This team has been a lot of fun to watch, and it's been a nice, refreshing change from whatever has been going on with the Colts because the Colts have been, they're 4-5-1 now.
Yeah.
They don't look like they're a 4-5-1 team.
They definitely don't. And that's a funny thing, right? They're still kind of in the playoff race, I guess, if you want to describe it. But like, how are the fans treating all this? They just want them to lose out at this point, or is it just like, do we keep?
It's mixed. It's so mixed. I mean, people are like just tank at this point. But I think we're too far along to start tanking and have tanking be something that is like a reasonable thing to do. And so I think some people are like, you know what, prove everyone wrong, do what you can, push, and like try to make the season salvageable and worth it. But then half of people are just like, just tank. So, and we're all just sitting here like, we don't know what's happening. Everyone in media is just kind of being like, well, this could go a couple ways. And it didn't go any of the ways that we thought it was going to go in the first place. So we're going to stop pretending like we know what's going to happen because we sure as hell don't.
What were like the real, like for me, when I did preseason previews for every team, and again, I watch every team in this league, I thought the Colts were going to, at the very least, make the playoffs. I actually had them winning the division. Was that the expectation?
Yes. The expectation was absolutely win the division. And I think that's part of like why that Titans loss in Nashville was so bad. Because, they had the Titans number for years and years and years and years and years. And then it just stopped. Like over the last 5 seasons, it has just exponentially dropped off. And that's under Frank. And so I think that's really been the thing. Jim Irsay's biggest thing, it hasn't been making the playoffs. It's been winning the AFC South. He's like, we have to win the AFC South. Like to be a respected football team. There's no reason why we shouldn't be winning the AFC South. So that's why when they lost in Nashville, I mean, Chris Ballard was sitting in the press box, and have you been in Nashville's press box?
That is one I haven't been in yet.
It is low and it is very open. Like it is very low to the ground and it is very, very open. So you can just like hear everything and see everything. And like you could see Chris Ballard visibly upset, like very upset about it. And I was not around Jim Irsay. I do not know where Jim Irsay was watching this game, but I can imagine the expletives that were flying because it was bad. It was really, really bad. And so, that would have been the thing to make it happen. But, now you have Doug Peterson's Jaguars. Like this is a new Jaguars team. This is like, if you wanted to assert your dominance in the division, it had to be now. It had to be while you were exploiting the weaknesses of the Texans not having, anybody. I was going to say a quarterback. I mean, anybody. Like, they don't have anybody. Nobody expected the shutout against to be shut out by the Jags. Nobody expected that. I mean, they knew that playing on the road against Jacksonville is hard for this team. It's like their kryptonite, and nobody really understands why.
They haven't won there in 10 years, it feels like?
I think the number is 11. It's between 9 and 11. It's between 9 and 11. Like, it's been a long time, like, including the London game. They lost in London, which was considered an away game, to the Jags as well. So
they tied them there once.
Yes.
See, this is the thing that bothers me about these franchises. They talk a big game like they're a Super Bowl to me, it's more Chris Ballard. But then you're like, you guys don't win anything.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. That's why I don't think Ballard has job security. I really don't think that Chris Ballard has job security. I think everyone in there is replaceable. And I think that we will see a completely different head coaching, GMing duo in July. And I do not know who those people will be. I do not know. I couldn't begin to tell you. But all I know is that we have to get through another week, and that we have to get through the best team in football being in their house, welcoming them in to Lucas Oil. And Lucas Oil gets loud. Like, people are excited, and people are people are going to love seeing Jeff Saturday at home. Like, make no mistake about it. But I know, but he will
on Hard Knocks, though. It seems like it's a beautiful stadium.
Oh, I love it. It's super cool. It's very different. Very steep. So there are about 6 levels. So you can sit all the way up in the 600 level down. It's kind of built like the Vet in that it's very steep. That's the best way I can explain it to people, but it's domed. There's a dome, so it keeps noise in, and it's not super cold. And, it's very different than what I experienced in Buffalo, which was very shallow and very open and you're going to get snowed on. And
doesn't Buffalo feel like a college stadium? And when you go to Indy, yes. It's like, oh wow, like I can see why this franchise hosts Super Bowls.
Yes, 100%. I say that all the time, that the Bills Stadium is like a college stadium. So, what was it like covering that? Not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just It is what it is.
What was it like covering the Bills though? Like you said, how long were you in Buffalo? Was it 4 years?
So I was in upstate New York for 3 years. Bills beat 2. So I got to see first playoff appearance in a decade, and all of that, all of those firsts, all of those really crucial firsts that team was waiting for. That's when I started covering that team. And so that was Josh Allen's big jump between year 2, or I covered year 2 and then I covered year 3. So I covered mediocre Josh, and then I covered big jump up Josh. And mediocre Josh was enough to make take them to that place of playoffs and stuff like that. Obviously having lost to the Colts in the wild card. So, what a weird thing to now be saying in 2022. But, and then to watch the Josh Allen be playing MVP level, people thinking, this is it. I missed what was going to be, I contemplated staying in Buffalo or in Rochester for another year to cover the Bills, because I thought last season would have been their Super Bowl season. And I was like, I'm going to take a gamble, but I left. And so I was like, oh, this Colts team, which is why this offseason, everyone was like, this is so exciting to get Yannick Ngakoue, Stephon Gilmore, Matt Ryan, these guys who have been such great players for such great teams, who have just kind of not produce the way they were expected to. And everybody knows that they're not producing the way they were expected to. So
it's weird too, because on paper it did look like they had a great all season. Yes. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this team's gonna win 10 games, no problem. And then I wanted to ask you this before I let you go. The offensive line, it feels like they change it every single week.
Yes, they do. They do. They do. They do, because nothing works. They have not found. Matt Pryor is not a starting left tackle in this league. You don't need me to tell you that. That's just the truth. You don't need me to say that to you. Matt Pryor, who you got traded for a 7th round pick, is not going to be your starting left tackle. Absolutely not. But then you have a rookie like Bernard Ryman who he's green. Like I don't, he's got to learn somehow. And how do you learn? Reps. But like when you're also changing everyone around him, that doesn't help him. Then, when you just kind of keep your center as your anchor and you just kind of like play with combinations and stuff, like that's not going to help you. And I saw that in Buffalo too. And it only makes things harder on your offense when you don't have, because people will miss their assignments. People will mess up. There will be gaps because guys, might not be like their main position. So I don't even know what the offensive line is going to look like on Friday or on Sunday. I think it's probably because I think it's just going to be what it was last Sunday because it worked well enough. And well enough is just going to have to get them through the season. But
so you think overall, either the Colts are going to win by 7 or the Eagles are going to win by 40 for those who are just tuning in. What do the Eagles have to do to win by 40?
They just need to score fast and often. I just think that they need to. I think that this Colts defense is permeable. You can get through them. You definitely can. I think you can definitely kind of play with them in coverage. And I think that, you're really just going to have to, break through their defensive line, which isn't going to be easy. But if you can get to like have their linebackers be, because linebackers right now are not the strength of this Colts defense. Like if Shaquille Leonard's playing, yes, they are. Because you have like a turnover machine, but they don't have that. So I think they just need to score fast and score often because the Colts get off to really slow starts and that has hurt them all season long. And so if the Eagles can have a first half like they have been, come in, put up 24 to 30 points in the first half and hold the Colts below like 10, I think it's going to be fine. Even if they have a down quarter, there's no way that I don't think this offense can play catch up the way that they should be able to play catch up.
Last question for you. I remember, I think it was in September, the Colts were, I guess they put on their social media account, like, we're sold out against the Eagles. I'm like, wait, you guys don't sell out? Did Eagles fans make that a possibility?
So that was announced with like 3 other games, and I don't remember what those games were. I think it was Kansas City. Yeah, it was Kansas City was a sellout. Eagles was a sellout. So all teams that have people who travel. And then Steelers, which is Monday Night Football next.
Yeah, and they travel too.
And like, so it's like 2, I'm not going to call the Steelers a Midwest team. You have a Midwest team, a sort of Midwest team, and then an East Coast team that travels really well. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge stadium and they seat so many people, but it's not like the Link. Growing up in the fan base that I grew up in, passion breeds, people will pull their money together and do what they have to do to get in that stadium and be there for their, but I know so many Eagles fans traveling. Like I have people keep making fun of me. They're like, oh, you have like a caravan this weekend. And I'm like, yeah, kinda, like my family's coming out and my friends are coming out and people are staying with me and it's going to be awesome. But Eagles fans, like all 3 of those fan bases deciding to travel, and Steelers aside, like the Chiefs lost there in front of a lot of their fans. So it's possible to lose there. It's very possible, even if you're the road team and you do have a fan base that came with you. So that's why I'm like, I can't even begin to predict what's going to happen. I really can't. All I can do is like go off of what was said in the locker room yesterday. These guys are super focused. They want this win badly, but they know they're going to get the worst of the Eagles. Everybody knows that.
All right, Alexa, once again, I appreciate you coming on. Since you are Temple made and you are Philly made, where is the go-to cheesesteak place in Philadelphia? I ask everybody this that's out of town.
John's Roast Pork.
All right. Simple question. I'm a Chubby's guy myself, but that's all right. We can agree.
Listen, I like Chubby's. I have that. Chubby's is in my top 5.
Yeah. So. See, is it Chubby's or D'Alessandro's for you if you have to go on that street?
That's tough. That's really tough.
How bad do you want to wait in line?
Exactly. I mean, because it is a great steak. It is a really good steak. I actually did cheesesteak last night there's a woman in Indy who's from South Jersey, gets her rolls from South Jersey, imports all her stuff, and it's just like an Eagles bar and restaurant now. And I was up there And her steaks are good. Like they're really good cheesesteaks. And so I had one last night because I was like, it's Eagles week. I should do this. But
if Penn State ever goes to the Big Ten championship again, I'm definitely texting you and be like, hey, guess what? You gotta show me where this place is because
it's so good. And she's a Penn State grad too. So like
even better. See that's a reason why I would go to that. Once again, Alexa, I appreciate you coming on. Have a good time this week, and I guess you can give a go Birds, right? Are you allowed to do that?
Go Birds. I can. I can't help myself.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Alexa. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Alexa Ross, everybody.